everyone, Chef Kim here, and I'm ready to do another recipe. This is a dish which I created, calling this one Chicken Archduke. Now this is a great one. I served it in my restaurant, and one of my son's friends requested that I get this video up there. So anyway, hope you're anxious to learn it. Now the first thing we're going to do today is clean up the chicken. Now these chicken breasts come totally clean. Most of the time there isn't that much on it. There's a little bit of sinew you want to take off. You want them to end up looking nice and clean like this. I'm going to show you a nice easy way to pound the chicken. And it's a lot less messy than maybe other ways you've tried. So, first thing we're going to do is put a piece of plastic wrap down. And then we'll put the chicken. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the chicken breast, and I'm using a boning knife and a very sharp one. Very important, always use sharp knives. Now, you may have trouble doing this, but you want to go right in the center. What I'm trying to do is get two pieces out of this instead of one. And then we lay the plastic wrap down, put the chicken breast on top, and then we take another piece of plastic wrap. There we go. That way you don't have a big mess. You don't have chicken pieces flying everywhere. And of course you just use a mallet. And this side is to help tenderize it, which chicken is tender anyway, but I usually do it on that side. Over here, I have my breading station. I have flour, egg, just plain egg beaten, and Parmesan, shredded Parmesan. And I'm going to heat my pan up too. Now, if you want to make this dish gluten-free, use gluten-free flour here. And make sure that your Parmesan is gluten-free. Sometimes I've heard it's better to shred your own, but you need to almost let that sit out and dry a little bit after you shred it, because it's almost too moist to do this dish. Alright, I'm getting the pan warmed up. Of course, I'm going to cook it in olive oil. And whenever you're breading something, you want to put more oil than if you're sauteing. Saute literally means quick jump. If you have a lot of oil in the pan and you're quick jumping, guess what? You're going to get a lot of oil on you, and you're going to be jumping because you're going to be burned. You need extra oil if you're breading something that you're pan frying. Because in order for the breading or the cheese to brown, there has to be sufficient oil for it to cook in. Now you could do this with breadcrumbs too, and just skip the Parmesan. That's another way to do it. Alright, so now the way to bread something without getting too messy is to use one hand for the dry and one hand for the wet. So we'll put it in the flour. And very important, you want to get the flour on the entire surface, but you want to make sure you shake it off, okay? So it's still on there, but it's not, there's not a ton of flour. Okay, now into the eggs. Now we have to use this hand, but I'm going to use this one because I have the glove on this one. That's being smart. And I'm only breading this one chicken breast, so it's not that big of a deal. If you're breading a bunch and you don't want to get too messy, then you do it the other way. Now you noticed I let it stand over the egg so that any excess also drips off. Now you might want to do this on a plate because a plate is flat. It's a little easier to get the entire surface coated. You want to make sure you get that cheese on there. This is such a great way to bread though, with cheese. Parmesan. Can't do it with any cheese. Now we may need to add a little more oil, but for now we're okay. Now we're just going to let that sit for a few minutes. I'm going to have to lower the heat too. You want to get it down to about medium. I just turned it over. Beautiful golden brown. Now you can cook these up ahead and cook them like, 80%, 90% of the way, and then put them on a baking pan. And then I'll show you the topping, because you're going to finish it in a 350 oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. And we're going to make a creamy sun-dried tomato sauce. And this is what's going to go on top of the Archduke. All right, let's turn that up a little. Bit of garlic. I'm going to put the sun-dried tomatoes, and I have some basil in here too. And we'll lower that heat. Let that cook for just a sec. And we're going to add some cream. Alright. Now that sauce really is done. I'm going to show you a cool little trick too. I need some green onions for this to add to the sauce, give it a little more color. So I'm going to cut off the ends, and then to make the slices a little smaller, you saw how I cut down the long way, and then I keep my cuts really close together. So I get a nice fine dice. It's not really a dice, more a fine slice. Okay, now we're going to add that to the sauce. But that's not the cool part. You're going to cut, about here. And you take a paring knife, and you're going to cut from right where the core is to the end. And we're going to keep going around, trying to get as many cuts. And then we're going to put it in ice water. And it makes the coolest little garnish. Now, best thing to do is to make sure when you're buying green onions to get them that have a large bulb or white part. Because the skinnier it is, the harder it is to make this. So, let's see. I probably have about 6 cuts. So it doesn't look like much now. But I'll show you after it sits in the ice water. Back to the Archduke. Here's the chicken breast. Beautiful, right? Oh, just eating it like this, it's really good. Squeeze a little lemon juice on it. Now, another video, I show you how to make artichoke hummus. So you need to have some of that for this recipe. And we put some on the top. Nice thin tomatoes. And I'm using mozzarella. You could also use Munster. You want kind of a mild cheese. Now here's the chicken Archduke. I haven't put in the sauce on yet, which I'm about to do. I wanted to tell you, if your sauce gets a little bit too thick, you can just add a little bit of water to it. You could add a little more white wine or cream, but water is the easiest. It doesn't add any excessive flavor or fat to it, so I would recommend doing that. Just don't put too much. Just top it with the sauce, as so. Here's a little tomato rose that we're gonna put there to add to it. I also have a green onion. Now, it hasn't quite got there, but you can see it's getting there. See how it'll end up, these will curl all the way. Chicken Archduke. Thanks for watching. Happy cooking.